Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the SMT and Friends podcast. We have a special episode today. This is going to be our Soul Hackers 2, basically spoiler cast. We're going to be starting with like first impressions and not such heavy spoilers at the beginning, but as you get towards the end, you will like this is your warning now. It is going to become very heavy spoilers, so that's just your sort of warning there. But we have some special guests here today. We have first off Gabbmew.
Yay, we're here. I played the game on PS4 and I played it for about 40 hours or more.
Nice. I have the game on PS5. I guess just to say I have 45 hours in so far. I actually haven't beat it by the time y'all are watching this, but I'm kind of okay with that. Next up, we have Slime.
Hello, my name's Lucky Slime. I played the game on PS4 and PS5 for around 100 hours, and I have that sweet Platinum trophy as well.
Yeah, this guy, he should have a guide. Do you have the guide up now, I guess?
And it'll be going up on launch day, so by the time this is out, yeah, it should be
That
up.
would be a hilarious embargo to break. I guarantee you that has happened, and literally the amount of times publisher cared because they they think of conventional ways to break it, like showing footage. Putting up a guide is such a weird one of yeah, I guess you'd really kind of have to try to seek that out and spoil yourself at the same time.
Yeah, and then next up we have Kiro, the Midnight Channel.
What's up? How's it going? I played the game on PS5. I put 24 hours into the game. I did finish it in 24 hours.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's about it.
Wait,
yeah.
What?
Yeah,
he's a speedrunner.
Yeah, I speedrun the game, basically, yeah.
I guess so.
I just did the bare minimum, just the story. I did like 2 side quests, and that's about it. So, you can finish the game in 24 hours if you don't grind or you just like play the bare minimum of the story.
Okay, last but not least, we have Spencer.
Hey everybody, Spencer from SMTN here. I've played Soul Hackers a lot. I beat it on PS5, put a lot of time on the PS4 version with Remote Play on Vita. 10 out of 10 on Vita, by the way. So if you're one of those people who are bummed about not having a PS5 but still have a Vita, definitely check that out. Played on Xbox One, Series X, not S, and touched the PC version enough for it to go, yep, it runs in potato mode. That's good enough for me, and then I moved on.
Yeah, good enough. I mean, I don't know. I think the game's, at least so far from what we've kind of gathered here, at least on consoles and whatnot, it runs pretty good. I think we were talking a little bit about this before, but the game, it runs nice. It looks beautiful. I gotta say, when it comes to just the Mega 10 games in general, I know SMT5 was on the Switch and it was what the Switch could handle, but this is a really nice looking Mega 10 game. I really love how good this game looks. I think it runs pretty well too. Again, I played on the PS5, so that might just be a lot of the PS5 helping there, but
I got a question for you guys then. So I'm assuming, Slime, are you the only one along with me who has played both versions, like PS4 and PS5?
I am pretty sure. Actually, wait. Oh yeah, both of them. Yeah, I'm the only person who's played both of them. Yeah.
So it's this thing, and I mention it in my review, but it does definitely notice, because I think the last gen version sounds worse until you realize it's only bad when you compare it to playing the $500 systems. It's completely fine in 30 FPS. You guys, I'm sure, weren't playing this game being like, dang man, I'm playing this game it's in slow motion. It's only when you're playing it in 1880, 1800p or whatever at 60 FPS, and then you go back to 30. Is it oh wow, that's a big difference. It's really only when those situations of when you're downgrading, it's those people who if you've ever done this, if you started playing Persona 5 Strikers on Switch and then you played it on a PC or PS4 or 5, you're like, oh, that's how this game was made to be played. It's still completely playable. It's not it's an finished buggy version of the game. It's completely fine, but it is that thing of the game was designed to be at 60, and I think this will be a really funny thing people notice in 2 months. You're going to have this exact opposite conversation when Royal comes out on multiple platforms back in October, because Royal is the opposite one, where it was designed to be at 30, so it almost looks weird at 60, whereas this one, it looks weird seeing Soul Hackers 2 at 30, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, depending on how the game was meant to run, definitely messes with the smoothness, especially playing it. Like you said, I think it's easier to jump from 30 to 60, then to go back from 60 to 30, it feels so much different.
Yeah.
Like, if you've played like shooters like on the PS3, it's so bad in comparison to what we have now. I mean, not just graphics, just how smooth it is, but like JRPGs, a lot of times it's like stop and go combat, so you don't always notice it, but I think it's starting to get to the point where there's just newer elements and like better cutscenes and things like that, and just animations for attacks and things. I think it's becoming more and more noticeable now when it comes to like frame rate stuff. But yeah, let's.
Gab, did you have any moment at all while playing, since you actually played it to completion on the PS4, where you were like, okay, this is noticeably, I feel like I'm getting a worse experience, or did it still feel like a normal thing for you the whole time?
I feel like, I mean, are you talking like in terms of like
just overall, like when you were playing, was there ever a moment being like, I feel like I'm playing the bad version of this game?
Like all of it.
Really?
Well, like I guess in terms of like, so like technically and like other things, in terms of just being like,
yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So in terms of technicality, there's only really one place in the game that really had lag. I can't remember the name of it. It's like Kakariko or something like that.
Oh, the city?
The city, yeah. I got such bad lag in that area, and I've heard a few other people say that they also got lag in that area.
Interesting. I've only tried that on a Pro, so I haven't actually tried it on a base. Do you have a Pro or a base?
It's just a base PS4, but otherwise, I know that other people have still said that they've also experienced it, so I know it's not just me at that point. And it was noticeable.
I mean, I can believe it. It's like the largest one area in the game, which is not saying much, but like, hey, you gotta load in those 20 NPCs.
That's the place that has Black Frost in the background, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, all the GPU is going to the Black Frost.
It adds up, man.
I love that whole area. Because that whole area is where the red light district is in Japan. So the Black Frost is replacing Godzilla. Yeah, there's a giant Godzilla. I remember I accidentally walked into the red light district by accident because I was looking for the Godzilla.
Not a spoiler at all, but Kuro, you have not done the Black Frost side mission, then have you?
Done 0 missions.
There is a reference to what you're talking about. Yeah. So that was funny that you made that connection without even realizing, because there's a side quest where they basically flat out say it.
I just did that mission like not too long ago, like last night. That's a fun mission too, though. But that is interesting how it ties back to real life. But I guess like all the Mega 10 games kind of
a lot of it is based on real life cities, and that was a cool thing when I said, I was like, I know that place. You can even see like the ladies of the night in the area too. There's like a lady or two that are just standing there, and I was like, hey, I know the area.
I spent a lot of time here.
It's funny because there's so many like references and little like mentions for like references and things to either like real life or past things, etc. There's actually somebody who may or may not make a video about it. I know LaRue was talking about doing a video about the Easter eggs and stuff, and I hope he does, because there's enough that I think people could miss them, because I know I missed them personally. Like, I didn't get that was a reference to the Godzilla head. I'm sure it is and stuff. But I didn't know that.
There's also the store that they go to.
De La Mancha. You guys know what that's a reference to?
Yeah,
right?
that's a reference to
Yakuza 0.
Don Quixote.
What? It's not a yacht. There's a real store that's based off of.
So it's a real store called Don Quixote in Japan. It's like a
imagine if people out there literally think Don Quixote is just a Yakuza store.
Dude,
like,
a lot of people
it's a real store.
Actually, I was talking to one of the Spanish channels, Persona. What is it? Persona Spain.
Persona Spain.
Yeah. And they one of the guys was like, "Oh yeah, that's a Yakuza reference." I'm like, "No, that's a reference to the real store that called Don Quixote." That's what the store is.
I can't believe Yakuza Dead Souls invented zombies. It was really impressive of them.
Yeah. So it's a lot of cool references and everything. But anyway, going to the main subject, right? The story of the game. What do you guys think about it? Most of us beat the game, right? So. You guys have anything that stuck out to you that you were like, this is pretty good or pretty bad? I know there's a lot of mixed reception on in the reviews.
I'm dying to hear what Gabby thinks, because I know you went on like a multi-thread post about it, but I hadn't beaten it by the time you were like venting about it, so I'm ready to hear it here.
Okay, well, I'll say I honestly thought it was like kind of a forgettable story, and it wasn't. Personally, I just didn't think it was that good. I think this game is gonna probably be super divisive on both sides. You're either probably going to love it or you're going to hate it. And I feel like this game just wasn't necessarily for me, if that makes sense. I know that some people will probably agree, but it just is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm curious, who would you say it's for then, in your opinion, after beating it?
I'm not sure, because everyone likes different things, to be honest, right? So, like, I couldn't really tell you the type of person
like in the sense of like how some people would go out of a movie and be like, okay, I didn't love this movie, but blah 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 people probably would.
Maybe I could say that like people will like it for the character designs. I know people have been very vocal about how much they like the way Ringo looks and stuff like that. I know Saizo was my favorite, so I can understand that, but he's like the only character I really liked, to be honest.
Saizo sweet.
I think it just depends. The story, to the people that have not played the game and are just kind of interested in it, this is a really character-driven story. So it's not like other Shin Megami Tensei storylines where like there's a lot of lore or a lot of build-up or anything like that. It really focuses on the protagonist and the side of characters that you meet along the way and everything. So most of it is just involves them and their story. In fact, Ringo, although she has a lot of quirky things that she says, is kind of like an spectator in a lot of it. You know, just kind of going with the flow and everything. And we'll talk more about characters later on. But to me, I feel like if you're a Persona fan, I don't mean it in a bad derogatory way or anything, but most Persona games are like more character driven than say Shin Megami Tensei games in general. So I think that if you're a Persona fan, you're more likely to enjoy this game than if you're a Shin Megami Tensei 5, where you're probably looking at more like lore or like more of the gameplay or something like that. Because there is the Shin Megami Tensei gameplay still here, but it's definitely a more stripped down version of everything. So to me, I'll say if you're a Persona fan, you're probably gonna like the game more than if you're a Shin Megami Tensei fan.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's my take on that. I don't know what you guys think.
I haven't beat the story yet. I'm very close. Like I'm very close to doing it. The only thing I think when it comes to like story that I don't like is I've just felt like the pacing of it has been kind of not good when it comes to like combat, the story, combat. So like Persona 5, I think does a super good job at that. I'm not trying to. Really?
No,
it's fun going back and forth.
This has the Persona syndrome. That's what I call it. Where you walk 2 steps to next cutscene. It literally does this all the time. You go, it makes you go. Well, that's to me that cuts the pacing terribly. Like just take me to the next place where the scene is gonna happen. So they'll have a cutscene and you'll talk with your party and they'll do things and everything like, oh, we gotta go to this new location. And then you go and click on the menu, which we'll talk about that later because the menu is very poorly designed. And you go to another section and then you go, it's literally like a scroll down to the correct spot. So you go to the next section and then another cutscene triggers. And then you have to talk or whatever, and then repeat the same stuff that literally just talked about 5 minutes ago in the previous section.
I guess what I meant more was like the transition from doing combat stuff and then doing story stuff. I felt like that is what's weird in this game, but like I feel like P5 does it well. Like once you're in the overworld, you know you're in the overworld. But this game, I don't know. It feels strange, especially like keeping a lot of the story is like at different places, like which we'll talk about Axis here soon, which is kind of somewhat like the mementos of like this game. Some of the stories in there, some of it's at these random places you find that just boom get added to your map and you go there. I feel like to me when that happens, it makes me not care about the place as much.
Yeah, it's like just take me there. Why don't you just talk about it and they take me there?
Yeah, I think that
like, I want to see you guys walking there or something. I don't know. They do that a lot in the game. I think the pacing in this game is either really fast or really slow. Like the first 3 hours of the game, they literally dump all the characters within. You get your whole party within 2 hours.
Yeah,
that's not necessarily bad, but like
but it does. It's like a breakneck pace, where it's like the opposite in Persona, where literally like you have like a whole dungeon for that one single character, and then they slowly add the characters. In this one, they literally dump all the characters and position and story and the lore, literally everything that is going on within 2 hours. So
yeah, they pound it into you too. They make sure you know what's going on, who each character's backstory is, and basically just go from there.
I think it's too much information at the start of the game, in my opinion, because it's way too much. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Slow down.
And you learn about the comp and the different divisions too. It's not just characters. It's
and that's fine if you never play the first game. But if you play the first game, a lot of the stuff they're introducing is literally stuff from the first game, but wrong or like different.
Or changed, or
different, So some of the stuff, like somebody was like, "Oh man, I wonder if the Phantom Society is gonna make a reference to Persona." I'm like, "No, the Phantom Society is just a group from the first game. It has nothing to do with Persona." And then same thing with Yatagarasu and like a lot of the people that they talk about, they're just people from the first game and everything. Like the factions are from the first game and everything. Yes, if you are expecting to get substantial stuff from the first game, do not, because aside from dropping names and mentioning little bits of lore and everything, they don't really bring characters from the previous game or do anything with that. So I wouldn't expect anything like that.
We'll say this: if you're buying this game hoping for deep Kuzunoha lore, you will be disappointed. You're not going to be coming out. You're not going to be coming out. You're not going to be coming out of this game being like, "Yo, dude, I can't believe Arrow is secretly the love child of Raizo Kuzunoha the 39th or something." Like, no, it's not. It is not that.
Yeah, it definitely it almost pretends like it is for a while. And
I was very, very worried the twist would be Arrow is like the lost Kuzunoha like claim, like when we get into that later with the story. But there were I'll say this, look, mine's pretty quick because I definitely disagree with a lot of the takes of the story, but that's because I accepted it for what it was going to be a lot earlier. This is not a story you go into to learn about the world or the situation. Like, if you click with these characters, there's a good story here. But like the world building is acting like it's really deep, but it's pretty shallow because you don't get a lot about the story. Like when you begin this game, you will ask yourself a question and you'll say, "Wow, I wonder what it means to be in Yatagarasu, or what does it mean to be in the Phantom Society?" And when you beat this game, you will not have that answer. That is just, they are two sides of a faction. Like, you're not here to learn about each side and everything about that. You are here about all of these characters. The characters thankfully saved it for me. But yeah, it is a thing of like, I think this game, because it knew its size, was like, we don't have the budget to really kind of show this big, massive war between these two clans. And I appreciated him kind of being like, let's at least tell a good story about this main cast of 5 characters and interesting side characters, which like I liked at least. At least all the main characters, there wasn't anyone I was like, oh my god, get rid of this person, get rid of that person. So like, I liked it for that, but at the end of the day, there were still moments of me being like, I would have loved to have learned more about like each, like my hope would have been like, I would have loved to have learned why one person joined Yatagarasu or one person joined Phantom Society, as opposed to just, it's where my friends were, you know?
They do it all of that. Yeah, it has definitely a severe lack of, like, if you like Shin Megami Tensei for the lore and the world building, there's very lacking little bits of that here.
So I have a question for you guys. I'm curious about that because I got a couple of questions from like listeners and like comments, but like obviously this is going to be kind of subjective, but like I would say, if you were someone who felt disappointed in the story because of the characters in SMT5, I wouldn't say Soul Hackers has a better cast because it's such a different cast, but I would say this game, if you were missing character development from SMT5, like I think this game succeeds way more than 5 did.
I agree.
I agree. Yeah. So
I
when
agree
when I was talking to someone about it, I said this has literally the opposite problem of Shin Megami Tensei 5. Like,
yeah, I would say
like everything that I had a problem with Shin Megami Tensei 5 is here, but then everything that I liked about Shin Megami Tensei 5, it's not here. So, so I have like the opposite issues with like each game. Like I feel like if they had just maybe taken these two teams and made one game together, because what happens with Soul Hackers 2 is it has incredibly good direction. Like they definitely know what they're trying to do with the game. They have a set path, they have a set storyline. They definitely took their time to work, like at least to think about like what this story gonna be about and everything. On the other side, from Shin Megami Tensei 5 is like lacking on like a lot of like, okay, well, like what are these characters? What's their purpose? Like what are they trying to do and everything like that. So I feel like if you were disappointed on SMT 5 because of that kind of stuff, you're definitely gonna get it here. But there are definitely some caveats from that. Like Spencer said, this is a much smaller story, and not in the sense of like, yeah, it's a pretty short game, but I mean like literally you can feel that this is more of a budget game. It does look good, like the graphics is good and everything, but it's definitely more condensed. You can see that in the dungeons. Well, I'm sure when we get into it.
It's such a weird one because I feel like budget. A lot of people hear someone say budget, and their first thought is, oh, it's short, or it looks bad, or like it feels like it has different caveats. Where like I think it's important to be like, this is a budget Atlas game. Like this isn't gonna feel like SMT5 in terms of its scope. This isn't gonna feel like as long as something like a Persona. But I think like compared to many other RPGs, like when I say this is a budget game, I put this in like those categories of like a Monarch or a Caligula, where like those are still long games with lots of redeeming qualities. But when you're playing those games, you're like, oh yeah, you can see where they put their money into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And the game does, like I said, I think my biggest takeaway is just the game does look good. The gameplay's still fun. It's still Megaten. It's still good, and it looks good too. The demons look so good in this game.
I think this is the best use of these PS2 demons I've seen. Like it's really funny. Especially coming after 5, because I thought 5 looked really, really good, but obviously 5 had some growing pains on Unreal, especially like when you'd be doing those like render popping assets with it. Whereas like I think of so many of these demons I've seen a million times and how good they like. Even someone as simple as like Angel, I thought like, man, it was so nice to just see like how like the black outline and the cell shading makes that character pop so much more, even though it's still the same model they've been using since like Nocturne.
Yeah. Like another demon like Mermaid too, which is in SMT5 like predominantly, looked so good.
Ooh, that would be a fun idea of like once I fill out the compendium, I would love to like actually go through and like do like a 360 rotation montage of each game and kind of like look at all the differences. Because yeah, there were 2 moments that really made me pop more than anything when I would see the demons myself with the story of like I loved seeing the ones in 3D for the first time, which I will say this one actually had way more new demons in 3D than I expected, and then at the same time the ones from 5 that we had only ever seen there being like, oh wow, that's really cool. Because like I'm pretty easy to please in a Shin Megami Tensei-like game. If I don't see slime in the first level, I'm happy. That's like, great, you tried. Thank you for not making it the normal base enemy.
Yeah, at least just making it different, give it some variety.
I will say that the character design and like the demon design is pretty spot on. I know there are reasons for the art style that they chose, but it really works well. They make do with what they have. Art direction, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. And like we said earlier, there's no like very big performance issues or anything like that. So to me, I mean, it works. That works really well. But I want to ask you guys about the characters. What do you guys think about the group of characters we had?
Saizo, best boy. That's all I have to say.
I agree.
Saizo sweep.
Saizo.
I mean, let's be honest. I don't think there's a bad character in the story, but like, if you beat this game and think who had the best story, like not even like, oh, who did you like the most? Like, I almost feel like you can see that they like Saizo the most. Like, he literally even has the only really big happy ending.
Yeah, 100%. Now that you mention it, he's the only one with a good ending, actually.
We'll get into it for the other ones because, like, I would say no one has a bad ending. Although, funnily enough, because this game does have multiple endings, but it's like even when someone has a what you would assume is quote unquote a bad ending. I at least like how this game never kind of like there's no doom and gloom ending, which is nice. Like I'm not sure if you guys have all seen like both endings to kind of confirm with it, but like I really liked the fact that even in like this one really depressing situation, there's still that light at the end of the tunnel, which I'm like, I like that because like there are those moments where like especially in some like well, like when you get the bad ending in a Persona, that just feels like you failed.
Yeah, like
there's no
satisfying
feeling of like you failed. Go back. This was a waste of an ending.
Yeah,
like the bad ending in like Persona 4 and 5 and stuff are just like like you played the game bad and this sucks. Whereas like you could have the bad ending, quote unquote, in Soul Hackers 2, and there's still something to learn and to kind of like take from that, as opposed to being like, oh, this sucks.
So to clarify, there is no bad ending. There's just the normal ending, what I'll call like a neutral ending, and then they have like a true ending, if you will. Yeah. So there isn't like a bad ending or anything like that. I know we use that word, but there's literally just like the normal ending that you can get. And then there's another ending. I guess we can talk about that later time. Character-wise, I like them all. I actually really like having a protagonist with a voice and a personality. It was very nice to have. Although I don't know if people are gonna buy it with Ringo, because she's very quirky and she has like a lot of like kind of reminded me of Elizabeth from Persona 3. Kind of like very curious.
That was your comparison. That's interesting. Yeah. I definitely got more. She's definitely her own kind of thing, which is weird. I didn't actually think of any parallels to her in terms of it, because like I'll say this, like while I don't have an immediate parallel to her, my first thought to give them kudos for this, it would have been so easy for them to make Ringo and Fig fish out of water. We've never been in the real world types. Like, what's pizza? I don't know. It's like, no, they're new to being humans, but they know everything. Like that, we don't have to have those stupid stereotypes of like, we're going to show you what drinking is. We're going to show you what shopping is.
Yeah, that's true. They didn't do any of that, which is good. They are like technically newborns in like they literally mentioned at some point they're only a few days old. But there's none of that. Like,
literally, when you meet them, they're 5 minutes old. They're both we've only been around for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, they do.
So when all of you sickos out there are like, "Where's my Rule 34 Ringo?" She's a 5-minute-year-old. Give her some time, you weirdos. Put the countdown clock on.
But they do a good job. I liked all the characters. Although, like you guys said, Saizo has like a really good arc in the story. And
do you guys like Saizo for just the story? I can't lie. I'm gonna say it. I don't like Saizo that much, but I do like the story.
Who do you like then?
Okay.
He's on the spot now. You really threw him off with that question.
I have not been playing the game with audio. Is it Melody?
Right, Rising, are you going to tell me your favorite character is Mimi? You can tell me
Melody.
It's Mimi.
No, not Mimi. Melody I like a lot.
That's Mimi, right? Is that not Mimi?
Can we talk about the fact that they named the bird that Fig controls, who they never call Mimi? Like, Mimi's the name of the body that Fig controls, but we still call the bird Fig controls Fig. Like, the fact that Mimi is named Mimi really breaks my brain of, like, they really only did that to market that as another character, which I find so funny.
They just want to have a toy. That's literally just what it is. It just wanted to have a mascot, even though they already have Iho. They have two mascots, which is also confusing.
Remember, Kuro, we went over this during the whole premium edition DLC talk. Of, like, it is so, like, they can't use, at least in the West, you'll notice they haven't really used Ringo Frost as a mascot as much as Japan, because literally there's only one way to get Ringo Frost in your game in the West.
That's a good point.
That's so true. Yeah, that is very true. Unfortunately,
I do have a question for you guys. Of like, at least on the opposite, were there any characters you felt disappointed by, or maybe didn't like? Like, obviously we mentioned. I mean, I actually didn't hate Kuzunoha in this game, but like out of the characters, were there any that stood out to you of like, oh, I wish they did more with them, or maybe I didn't like their take or interpretation?
Yeah, Kuzunoha, like you said. There's also the bad guy of the game.
Oh, which one?
That's what I'm. Yeah, I'm not trying to say. Okay, Iron Mask. as he's introduced in the game originally. There's some really interesting plot twists in the game. We're not gonna get into it right now and everything.
I mean, if we're already in the character discussion, this is not a huge spoiler because you do learn this early. We need to discuss Iron Mask, aka Melody's boyfriend's real name, because I laughed so fucking hard when I found out what it was. Like, in a world where we have characters named Ringo, Fig, Arrow, Melody, and like, what's the bad guy's real fucking name? Paul. I was like, I needed to be there when we were like, guys, what do we call this guy? His name's Paul. But like, what's funny? Like, I don't even mean this. Like, I actually like Paul. I actually wish we would have gotten a little bit more with him. But like, I find it genuinely interesting. Like, I feel like he actually fits when you see what he looks like. And I don't think there's official art of it because, like, obviously, like there's a lot of things that there's art in the game, but you don't get to see. I would love to like see the detailed drawing of Paul, because I feel like Paul's 3D model looks so and it's funny because I don't mean this. It's gonna sound like a negative. Paul looks very basic and unintimidating, but that's because that's who he is.
Yeah, that's the whole part of his story. That's part of
get into his story and like. I was surprised that, because like I think much like Metal Gear, and I think Crow, you can kind of agree with this as well. I'm not sure how much you guys all love the Metal Gear, love or hate it. When you have a character who is just color or adjective and noun next to each other, you've got to really try hard for them not to suck. And I really grew to actually like what the name Iron Mask represented in this game. I thought, way to go, you made what could have been a really dumb villain name into something interesting. Like, Iron Mask never became a premise to me that I thought was stupid.
Yeah, it wasn't stupid. I just felt like I just wanted more with the character, and they do some interesting things. I'm not saying that they didn't. They just did some stuff that I was like, okay, that didn't work super well for me and everything, but I'll take it and everything. Kuzunoha was one that they build up such a big thing. They even teased it on the trailers. 3 trailers, they mentioned we need to catch Kuzunoha. And I was like, yo,
why did the trailers maybe did? I feel like, I feel like in the game, they were appropriate with it. Kuzunoha was this. Most of the cast didn't know who it was. Obviously, Arrow had a bigger attachment to it, because Arrow and Kuzunoha were part of Yatagarasu. But like, to me, I feel like in the game they treat Kuzunoha with as much reverence as you would like, oh, it's Victor from the summoning place. Like that, oh, it's a thing that's been here for a really long time. Not like, oh my god, this is a huge deal.
I thought there was certain build up to him and everything. So I don't know. In the game, was it not? Like, there's like 2 missions about him.
It's a big plot point. I would say at the very least there should have been more, because like he's very plot relevant, but it has nothing to do with his lineage. Like, literally, the Kuzunoha in this game, his last name could have been Narukami. He could have been Yu Narukami's grandpa, and it still wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I meant. Yeah. Thank you. That was my point. Yeah, that
you know what we needed? We needed a talking black cat to follow him around. Then it would have really made it a lot more prevalent in the story.
Then it adds up. Yeah.
Well, at least we got a talking black owl.
That's true. Yeah.
I thought it was like a penguin, but I mean, I guess owl makes more sense.
Ooh, I have a weird question for you guys about this one, and I have to pull up their name because I forget it. Unless someone can remember it off the top of their head. The name of the host where you get your side missions. It was the club, blah, 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 but what's the name of the host there?
Was it Madame Ging? No, it's not Madame Ginko.
I'm looking it up.
I know it's Club Creation.
You might actually be right. I feel like it is actually
something Ginkgo. I think it's actually Ginkgo.
You got it right. It is Madame Ginkgo. Weird question. So obviously, Madame Ginkgo from Soul Hackers 1 to Soul Hackers 2 is, hypothetically, you would assume the same character, but just like aged up and stuff, similar to Victor. I was going to say Mary, but Mary's just DLC in this game, so she's not really a character. This is a weird one, and obviously isn't that big of a deal, but I was kind of curious. I definitely was getting like non-binary vibes from Madame Geek, or at least gender neutral, of like, definitely like didn't feel like
part of the character.
Yeah.
So I was curious if anyone else kind of got that.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Based off of looks, or like
Well, it's interesting because if you actually go back to Soul Hackers 1, Madame Ginkgo is actually wearing a pantsuit, whereas Soul Hackers 2 is wearing a dress with a corset, but I actually kind of feel like their mannerisms, or at least like especially in the English voice acting choice for it, it's almost kind of a deeper, more masculine sounding voice. So it was kind of interesting to compare the two of like Soul Hackers 1 definitely presented with masculine attire, but sounded very feminine, whereas Soul Hackers 2 had a more maybe what you would think is a masculine sounding voice, but dressing more feminine.
So, if I remember correctly, I saw somebody talking about this somewhere, but I think it was intentional that they made her seem that way, and I think there was a reason behind it, but I just can't remember what I read about it. But it was.
By the way, we have a little. I did look up a thing I was trying to see here, but I want to read it. Blah blah blah. Okay, yeah. I was thinking if this was matched in the Japanese version. In the Japanese version, it is actually voiced by a male actor, implying it is possible that they could be transgender. So interesting if they kind of doubled down, because they did not do that in the English version of Soul Hackers 1. So interesting if they were kind of joining that finally with Soul Hackers 2.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's not the first time Atlas has done transgender characters, right? I mean, Catherine.
I don't know why. I honestly, I feel really. I could literally just ask. I could literally. I know the people who were. I could literally just ask and be like, "Hey, was this an intentional thing?" They'd be like, "Yes," or "No," or "Okay." Oh, weird thing, because I know we're never going to talk about this. Are either of you guys who beat the game? How often do you actually look and read the credits when you beat the game?
I'm gonna be real. I don't read them at all. I literally just sit on my phone while I go through.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. So, I just wait for it to finish.
So, Gab, did you notice anything was missing in the credits for Soul Hackers 2?
No, I don't. I think I skipped the credits, not gonna lie. Or fast forward.
Oh, dude, it's a banger of a song. But Soul Hackers 2, and I've already alerted them. This is not going to be fixed in the day one patch, and I hope it gets fixed eventually, because this is a thing that I don't like, but definitely I already have an answer for it. The credits do not feature any of the English voice cast. Everyone else who worked on the game, the Japanese cast is there. The West and the localization staff is there. Even the company, Cup of Tea Production, were listed, but Japan never actually included a English voice actor section. And I reached out because I was like, hey, is this a mistake? Like, I recorded the credits as part of like my footage and stuff. And when I was going back and looking at it, what I thought was so interesting was the explanation was Japan left it out by mistake, because if you know this, Japan actually doesn't launch the game, even though this is a worldwide release. In Japan, there's no English version of the game. Like, there's no English subtitles and there's no English voice acting. So because their version didn't have it, they ripped it out of their credits, but they never put it into the Western worldwide version. So at launch, none of those voice actors are going to be credited in there, which I think super sucks. And like, I hope it gets patched in. Like, I've tried poking the bear for it, but it is one of those things where, like, for me, that's always one of those ones I look out for, because a big question I had where, like, for a couple characters, I'm like, I think that was this person, because like there are times where like characters got introduced and I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. All the
time. Like I hear a voice, I'm like, wait a minute, did I play a game that literally had that same? Or like a lot of anime voice actors also do games and stuff too. Like that happens all the time. But yeah, that's so
that's a weird. If you're someone like me who likes following that kind of stuff, weird that that's not there. But hopefully that does get added in, because it is one of those dumb things that's like, it's easy to forget, but it is like, hey, cool to give everyone like credit, because like they did it for SMT5. Like that was when they were at least able to do it with. So it's clearly probably just like something that like slipped through the cracks.
Yeah, it happens. But we talked a lot about the game. What do you guys think about the gameplay?
I enjoy it. I really like the Sabbath thing. I think it's interesting. There are certain bits that, like, because you have to eventually get upgrades to have crits and things like that count towards the stack, which sucks a little bit. And it sometimes it takes a while to get certain things like that. But I do like the Sabbath thing. I like the additions that they've done to the gameplay. In terms of like battle, the HUD and everything else, I think it's fine. I really do enjoy it a lot.
I like the game. I think the Sabbath is good, but I think it gets to a point, like towards the later game, where it gets to a point where it's way too overpowered, because basically at that point every single attack is going to count towards it, and you're going to end up doing thousands and thousands of damage, and like, because that happened to me, like it got to a point where everything I was doing was just stacking onto it, and I was getting like
Slime, are you going to hurt my feelings? I'm going to ask you this question. Please don't hurt my feelings. Have you not played Tokyo Mirage Sessions?
I haven't played Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I'm sorry.
Okay, literally, this game is just the evolution of Tokyo Mirage Sessions with their sessions of adding attacks that then lead to things. Instead of making one big combo attack at the end, you get one big Sabbath. So, like, I actually really loved this, because, like, to me, the gameplay, not only just the battles, but, like, the leveling up systems and stuff for me, this just felt like someone took the core of Tokyo Mirage Sessions and made it streamlined and deeper. Like, more things to do, more things to level up, more things to kind of grind out with materials, comps, and whatnot. But, like, Sabbath and stuff, I really, really liked, just in the sense of it always felt like it never felt like you had to use Sabbath to win a fight, but it was always that thing of, like, if you're steamrolling bosses, it's really nice, especially when you get to the point where, like, when you can do a Sabbath before the battle even starts is really fun. Of like, hey, I started the match, I have my instant 1 or 2, these enemies are really weak, boom, they're dead. Like, it makes grinding really easy. It's very fast to skip it because it's just instant. And, like, the little modifiers and stuff where, like, I liked that you could make them as long or as short as you wanted without it feeling obnoxious, because I think the highest I got was I had a 17 stack. I was really mad too, because I was able to get up to 18, but I only had 17 demons on me, so I actually ran out of demons before I could stack, which I thought was funny. Like, you have to have different demons to stack, but, like, the game never expects you to get, like, over more than 10 and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
I think 10 is like
situations.
What the trophy is. But this game has really interesting layers to it, because, like you said, it has a lot of the stuff from Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and it obviously has things from Soul Hackers, like the original game. So kind of like a merge between those two. And then they have just Shin Megami Tensei stuff sprinkled all over it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I noticed, buffs and debuffs don't stack on top of each other, right?
No, yeah, you use them once and you have your 3 turns.
Yeah, and then you can just stack the turns. That's pretty much what you can stack. But other than that, you don't stack like actual.
Ooh, okay, well, let me at least say this. Technically, you can stack. There is a commander skill that will let it stack for longer. But in most cases, if you're not using one of those commander skills, normally it's only 3. So yeah, you can't like double spell them. But yeah, there are ways to get longer than 3 turns.
The support extender, and there's also stuff that makes the support stuff be better too, like more effective. Same thing with healing items and stuff too.
The comp system is cool because you can modify the characters to do certain things. Like, you have a designated healer, like you said, you can add special skill things and everything.
Shout out, by the way, because there were a couple that are super clutch, and I got this one pretty late, but it was so helpful. Melody, I don't know if anyone else besides Slime or like Gab might have this, but Melody's, like, I think it's like final kill or last straw one, where if an enemy is close to dying and you don't have enough to do it, she'll finish them off for you.
Mercy kill.
Mercy kill was so clutch.
Especially because she has another skill that when if she kills them, she gets SP back. So you can piggyback with the other one where she's constantly just killing them and recovering SP. So she's pretty OP.
It is one of those things. It is one of those things that, even more than Sabbath, of like, the more you upgrade your characters, and like, please, everybody, don't play like Kuro. Go through and do the Soul Matrix stuff as much as you can and whatnot for it, because, like, outside of getting extra lore and just more gameplay, like, when you're upgrading those characters, like, those upgrades are so critical, like, not to making the game fun, but it just makes it really satisfying when you have those things that, like, oh, hey, this attack gives me an extra, or this attack lets me pierce through, or this will let me bounce off of, just like, it is making you stronger without feeling like you're breaking the game. Like, there's never, at least for me playing on normal, there was never a moment where I was like, the game's too easy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't play much of that, but even then, you still get a lot of upgrades. Like, even though I didn't do the whole Matrix, which we can talk about in this pod, I guess, I still had enough from just playing the game normally. So the game, it doesn't force you to do the Matrix, it doesn't force you to do side quests or anything like that, which is nice, because to be very frank with you, although there are some interesting side quests, the majority of them are really boring.
Just a lot of fetch quests and
They're just
stuff.
fetch quests and stuff,
Yeah,
and the problem
need
is,
this boss here, like
yeah,
this thing there.
there are three types of side quests you can get. There are the side quests that you get from Madame Ginkgo, which is the ones that you get and everything. There are side quests that you can get from demons in dungeons, and there are side quests that you can get from the Matrix. And they'll give different rewards. They'll do different things and everything. I found that most of them were just very boring and uninteresting. The ones from Madame Ginkgo, they're the ones that somehow they have a little bit more to them and everything. But the demon side quest, I just ignored them at the end. I was just like, it's really not doing anything. And the Matrix side quest, I think you can take those anyway, because you're still gonna go in the Matrix and grind or go down all the way to the end. Strongly recommended to get to the end of the Matrix, because you kind of need that for the good ending. So definitely do it if you can. I didn't, because I didn't know the first time, but that's probably why I finished it so fast. But I didn't like the Matrix. I hated it. I thought it was more boring than Persona 3 Tartarus.
Oh, I was just about to say, don't say Tartarus.
Yeah,
I was like, come
Mentos.
on.
Yeah,
I hated it.
Probably the laziest part of the game, because they
Yeah.
didn't really add or change anything. It was the same environments, and that it was all just like teleporting around and going through the levels.
at least Tartarus changes the color of the floors every once in a while. This was literally the same.
Yeah.
It kind of intends you to do like one part of the story, and then after you do one dungeon, go to the Soul Matrix, do that, and then go back. But I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to do the Soul Matrix. I just want to continue the story, because I just don't like it. It's all the same except for the story at the end. So yeah.
Yeah. I think that's
I'll say
kind of
this
like
about I'll say this
how
about the
it's
Soul
meant to be
Matrix that I
played.
thought was kind of a weird one. Of like, I actually liked a majority of the side quests. The only one that I thought was weird is every Aeon directive / side quest you get has no lore. They are literally just, here are the same 3 quests in everyone's floor, rinse and repeat, with changing out different things for it, which, like, I feel like you really could have added little bits of story, because, like, even if you don't love the story and the side quests, it's nice to see them all kind of relate to each other and call back to, like, oh, here's evolving the story of the gun shopkeeper, or here's evolving the story of this couple, or this guy I found, or like, things like that, whereas, like, the Aeon directive ones were literally, they had, like, it would have been a nice chance to, like, I mean, we totally didn't even talk to this character. This game likes to pretend that Flamma is a character. Flamma is not a character at all. Like, that could have been an interesting excuse of, like, Flamma, like, talking to you or having questions to you, whereas, like, even the missions you get directly from Flamma make, like, nothing in terms of relation to her.
I always thought, like, oh, we're gonna get some deep lore with her and Ringo or something, and nothing happens. It's just like, oh, here's a little upgrade. Here's a piece of armor for Ringo. It's like, that was it? That's all we got for that?
Yeah.
I always expect something more.
I will say that I didn't like the quests. I thought they were all basically the same things. Like, you go here, do this, go here, fight this, go here, grab this item. None of them really felt like they mattered. It was just mainly fetch quests, is what it felt like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
Also,
think it's
I have something to say about the side quests. The specifically the ones where you fight the side bosses or the mini bosses in the Ion, where they do this insta-kill attack after a while. It is so annoying.
Light.
Yeah, Apocalypse Light was stupid.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, that it sounds like we're hitting the game, but it's a good game, I promise. It's just when it comes to side quests and stuff like that, I need something substantial for me to really care or to, like, want to do it. And unfortunately, I'll say, like, 90% of them were not really fun. What hurts me the most is looking at the DLC, because it does seem like there's some interesting, like, story / side quests going on there. By the way, as we mentioned before, I think I mentioned somewhere else, the DLC is not cut storyline from, like, the story. It's just, like, additional side quests. It doesn't affect you the game or anything like that. We all play the game here. There's nothing missing or anything. It doesn't ever feel like, oh, I'm missing a character or I'm missing a story or anything like that. The DLC is definitely, like, a pure side quest that has nothing relevance to the main story or anything. At least not that I can feel from playing the game and finishing. I don't know if you guys felt like there was missing anything.
I felt like it was fine. Like
right. It didn't feel like it was missing.
I beat the game before they even announced the DLC, and I didn't think anything was missing. And when they announced it,
that is how out of the loop you are. That game announced the DLC literally 2 months before we got the code. That is definitely not true. But I'm glad you didn't.
They revealed the character and stuff after I beat the game.
Yeah, when they revealed Nene.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I will say this because I think I'm the only one here who's actually played through it, but. Lost numbers. I was worried it was going to be one of two things. It was going to be so substantial people would be mad it wasn't in the game, or it was going to be so lazy, like it was just going to be an additional level of like the Soul Matrix. It's thankfully not that. So it is one of those ones of like, because like imagine if it was just Soul Matrix but with like a cutscene at the end of the floor. Like that would like made people so mad. Be like, really?
So what did you think then, Spencer?
I like it. I actually really like Nene as a character. Like I think it's an interesting story. I like it. Actually builds upon what they did with the Demi-Fiend DLC a lot more in terms of like how the Demi-Fiend DLC in SMT5 was a progressing story that you can do obviously all at once if you've beaten the game, or if when you're playing the game you can kind of check in with her and get bits and pieces. But what was nice about it was, since obviously you don't have the fiends to kind of go back and forth with, she's following you when you're doing these missions, and so it's fun to have her in your party even though you can't control her. So like it does fun things like that. That's like, this is different. Like the game is doing something I'm not used to it doing. Like stuff like that was cool without feeling like it was pandering, but it was also like it's a standalone thing. You don't need to play it. It's cool if you do, but it was like a thing of like I thought totally worth $10. But I know everyone's like mileage is going to vary with it. But it was like one of those things that it didn't feel like it wasted my time. But I can definitely recommend it to people who are wanting more Soul Hackers. Although I will say, like we talked about before, Slime, where are my extra bronze? You could have thrown 2, maybe 3 bronze trophies in there. Give me some extra. Well, also let's be real though. Like you know what people hate more than like not adding trophies is when games launch with expansion trophies. So even if you platinumed it, if you don't have the DLC, it like says you have 97%, and then people are like, I gotta buy this DLC. I got 97% of this trophy.
Yeah, literally me.
Yeah, that's always whack.
Yeah,
I mean, it's one thing if you add it later because it's like, oh, well, we just now thought
they're never touching this game's code again, dude. After this week, dude, they're never touching this game's code. This game's gonna have to literally light houses on fire for them to ever patch this game again.
Yeah, I think that's what we've seen with pretty much all the Shin Megami Tensei Atlus stuff they've done, right? I don't think they ever like gone back and fixed anything substantial. Although I will beg Atlas, please add that 60 FPS on Persona 5 Royal on PlayStation 4. Like I don't really want to pay $60 for that. I really don't. Like if
gotta pay the 60 FPS toll.
That was 60 FPS tax.
We're paying $1 per FPS. That's how it works, Kuro.
Yeah,
you
that's
already
crazy.
have 30 though. You should get it half off.
$2 per FPS.
Yeah, right. We don't need 30 FPS more.
We don't have Australian prices for P5R yet, do we? You know that's going to be like 90.
It's on EB Games and it's $110. It's fucked.
As it should be. As it should be. They know what they're going to buy over there.
$110, bro. Dude, I wouldn't.
Well, I'm sure it'll have a manual for that price. I'm sure it'll have a fancy collector's case, and you'll look at it for the rest of your life and think, boy, this was definitely better than a month of rent. Definitely should have gotten this guy. That's a tangent. We gotta go. I guess we pretty much kind of talked for the most part about gameplay and stuff. I guess, or was there anything anyone had issues with the gameplay? Like gameplay is a tough one for me. Of like. Where I can say, boy, I wish they did this or that. Like, honestly, the gameplay was the big hook that, like, I can't tell you how many times I was playing this game and I was like, okay, I need to go to bed or I need to progress the story, but I just kept wanting to do more and upgrade my characters. Whereas, like, for me, the gameplay is probably, like, the best thing this game has going for it, in my opinion. But, like, was there any kind of complaints you all had about it, maybe?
For
This
me,
one thing for me. You go ahead, Kev. Sorry.
For me, it was probably the fact that one, the battles are so slow, and two, the fact that you can't skip Sabbaths. And yeah, there might be more than one Sabbath you can watch, but it definitely gets old when you're seeing it.
skip 'em.
Oh my god!
like-
Hold on. Can you not press circle? I thought that was, you can press
you press
circle.
circle.
It skips the Sabbath.
Oh, what? I didn't know that. It didn't pop.
It's always in the bottom right. I mean, if you're not looking for it, I can see it kind of being
it's
there
like
for you.
in the very corner on the side, it's a little button right there. But yeah, you can skip them.
This is like that sad moment when it's like, hey, I've already beaten this game. Hey, did you know you could save 30% of your time? Thanks.
Well, there's another thing.
speaking
It's
of saving,
not gone on like the PS4
hold on.
version or something, right?
Before you continue with anything, if skipping of saving, disable the tips. Go into this menu.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
and disable those tips. The loading times are a lot faster that way.
That was another problem I had with it, is that it feels like there's so many loading screens unnecessarily, and even when you like let's say you're teleporting to a store or something, it doesn't put you in the store, it teleports you outside of it. And also the fact that you can't cancel the map when you bring it up, you have to like choose somewhere to go with it.
I hope that's patched or something.
Yeah, those are just minor things, but it's still annoying when you like, I just
I
accidentally
got a
hit the
good
map
one. Did this
button.
annoy anyone else? Because this always made me want to kick my TV in after hours of playing this game. Tutorial text pops up for the first time. Would you like to close this screen? Like, dude, every time I have to double confirm the tutorial. Like, I actually went out of my way to ask if that would get patched, and it was like, no. They're not gonna like. I got that's how determined I was to get that out of the game. I was like, "This has to be patched, right?" And they're like, "No, they're not." Like, there's other quality of life things in there, but not.
I was having that stuff pop up in the final boss for like status ailments and stuff, and I'm like, "Get off my screen!" Why
Oh god, yeah. What was it like? Yeah, I had one thing that I'd never gotten. I think it was like, it wasn't days. It was like some random effect that like you could have found, but like I just didn't get it by some stroke of luck. Like, it's the final battle. Like, hey, I thought you might want to know about this. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
I guess there's one thing that I would like to have added, but like this might just be because like these games were sort of maybe developed around the same time. But like SMT5's, the reverse compendium or whatever to fuse demons, I would love to have that in this game. But this game doesn't seem hard to complete the compendium.
Oh, dude,
I'm like
I was
over
gonna
50% without even like trying.
I would say I actually loved how the compendium worked for this one in terms of fusing it. Yeah, I guess like that technically is gameplay with it. But yeah, I really loved how the system worked of like, hey, all the filter options, like putting on things.
I do like that, yeah. But
the only one I will say, speaking of tutorials, and I had to like, I was talking to like Ozzy about this or something. The one thing this game does not explain to you as a tutorial blows my mind. How long did it take you all to realize how to make Mitama?
I still don't.
A little while, yeah.
The only way to do it, and there's no tutorials. I like triple checked. I thought I was like, I've got to be crazy. Like I was like, maybe it's New Game Plus.
It's a trophy too.
You can only make Mitamas by fusing the Frost 5. So any of those multicolored Jack Frosts, fusing two of those together will make the Mitamas, and then those Mitamas can be used to level up like normal like Mitama fusion. But I was like, there is no, like the game has tutorials everywhere, and it's never like too much, but it is one of those things that like this is literally one of the more important things to know, especially if you're playing the game on hard or whatnot. Of like, I don't know how that's not explained, and that is so weird to me because like they literally like it's a part of fusion, like it's in the menu, there's a trophy for it and everything. They just forgot to tell you how Mitamas work, which like maybe they were like overcompensating because SMT5 was literally like exploding out of the seams with Mitama, but like it was just so weird to me of like, why is this not explained? You just have to discover it naturally.
Maybe that's how they wanted you to do it, just to find it randomly.
I mean, it was just one of those weird things of like they're never in the world. Like even if they were in the world and then you couldn't summon them, you just had to fuse them, it would make sense. But like they never pop up. They're never in battle. They're never just they'll probably be part of the DLC. I bet that's where they appear or whatever. So, is like the grinding DLC.
That's where the tutorial's at.
So for me, at least, that was never actually a problem for me because I just fused them like pretty early on by mistake. So I kind of figured it out early.
I never did the Frost 5, even though they look cute. Every time I had a chance to fuse them, they were always my weakest option. So I was like, no, I'm good. I'll fuse something else stronger. So like because they were so weak, I never ended up fusing them. Like the first Frost I ever got was, well, at least a non-traditional Frost, was Lemon Frost. And then if I finally got to a point where I was like, okay, I beat the game, or I think I was about to beat the game, and I was like, all right, let's start fusing a bunch of stuff I haven't gotten yet. Because it literally was like from level 1 to 50, the only demons I hadn't made along the way were the Frost 5. It was so weird.
Interesting.
The Frost 5.
Everybody, that's your trophy tip for you.
I like that they're like a boy band. The Frost 5.
The Frost 5.
Yeah, that's interesting. I still haven't done that. I didn't even know that was a thing. I mean, I see the trophy. I knew they had to be in there, but I'm like, oh, this is some late game stuff, isn't it?
It almost, like, literally, like, I don't know, like, Slime, did you almost get to the point where, like, is this just New Game Plus? Because, like, because this is kind of talking about gameplay, but this game has a lot of, like, more, like, actually is probably one of the better Atlas games at New Game Plus content. There's new Hangout sessions that are only in New Game Plus. There's new side quests that are only in New Game Plus. Like, there's a lot of reasons to go back and replay this game, which is nice, but it is that thing of, like, it's like, I could have easily believed in they hid Mitamas for New Game Plus, because it's one of those things that, you're probably going to be grinding.
Like I was like towards the end of the first playthrough, like literally I was like, okay, I have this trophy, like I'm trying to get all the trophies as I go, and I'm like, all right, how do I get this Mitama trophy? And then I was asking people, and I asked Gab, I was like, do you know how to get the Mitamas? And then I really had to ask people, like, how do you get the Mitamas, because the game doesn't like really tell you. So yeah, I mean, I got it in the end. Yeah, basically fuse the elements together, and it's funny that the Frost 5 are the only elements in the game. So yeah,
interesting. So I guess I'm going to talk about my complaints with the gameplay. I don't really have complaints with the gameplay itself. It's pretty Shin Megami Tensei in that sense. A little bare bones in some aspects, but it does compensate with the comps and Sabbath and all that stuff, so that's fine. Dungeon exploration can be very boring. Not just like the one...
Especially when you start. Those first few dungeons, you're going to be like, did anyone think of anything besides sewers and railways?
Yeah, it's literally like you go to the abandoned, like, ship thing at what is that? Whatever your start, what would you call that?
The shipyard,
like a docking. Yeah, you go to this docking place twice. You go to the subway maybe like 2 or 3 times.
Each of the locations except the final dungeon, there are a duplicate version of them.
Yeah, exactly. So you have like the exact same spot, or not? I mean, a different spot, but it's like an extension of it. So they pretend like it's a completely different area, but it's literally like the same. It looks the same. Then this is a huge step down from Shin Megami Tensei 5 or even Persona 5 when it comes to like not only the dungeons but also like the locations that you explore, because there is literally like one strip, like one line where you walk in a straight line, and so you let's say you're trying to buy something or go to the bar or something. It's literally one little line from point A to point B. And I mean, it almost makes it just be like, okay, just teleport me to that place and I could do a thing. Like, literally, like, why will I walk anywhere when it's literally one single line? It really does feel like such a step down from even Persona 5. Persona 5 isn't like such a big, like, open world or anything like that, but at least like the areas are a little bit more explorable or anything. In this one,
I have an interesting question for you guys.
Yeah.
I'm almost surprised no one's brought this up yet. Kind of speaking of possible downgrades, I actually never viewed this as, just because it felt like such a different kind of game with it as it is. I never missed it, but how did you guys feel about no demon negotiation, and how do you think the community is going to react? Because I am very much ready for people to see that this game has no negotiations, be like, baby mode. Whereas, like, the game doesn't need it. The game did not need negotiations at all. It was like, I liked how quickly you could get demons, and it definitely makes it like a different experience. Like, it's nice that it was obviously brought back more into Persona with P5R and P5 in general. But then like SMT 5 obviously is gonna bring a lot more people to it. Whereas like I feel like, especially kind of going back into how fast this game feels, like I think nothing would have brought down the speed of this game's the speed of this game's gameplay and trolling through dungeons if you also had to negotiate with demons.
Yeah, that would have been a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
To me, I just wish that you could choose what demons you want to recruit, because sometimes I will be walking around and I talk to my demon, and so basically to people that haven't played the game and you stick around this long, you walk around in a dungeon and your demons are kind of like wandering around, and you can talk to them, and some of them will tell you, "Hey, this demon wants to join your party." And you just gotta like pay them either health, stamina, or money, and very simple. You don't negotiate or anything. They just be like, okay, I want to join your party, and if you have the correct level, they'll join your party. So there's no negotiation or anything like that. To me, that's fine, but I wish I could choose which demons, because I will get like the same 3 demons in one dungeon, and I'm like, I want to recruit this other demon, but they wouldn't just show up. And it was kind of annoying. Maybe because I wasn't going through dungeons many times or anything. I just went to the dungeon one time to finish everything. I wasn't grinding or anything either. But to me, I was like, if I wanted a specific demon, I'll be like wandering around for like 10 minutes or 20 minutes until like they show up. That was kind of annoying.
I felt like I eventually got everything I needed after just a while. Like, it didn't take too long, but I'm doing all the side quests too at the same time. But to me, I didn't feel like I had to mess around too long to get all the demons I wanted, I guess.
There's an extra special place in hell when you find out you're under-leveled in an area, only by a super badass demon being in the recruiting area, and he's saying, "Nah, bro, you're too weak for me. Bye."
Yeah,
damn
yeah,
it!
yeah. That's the kind of stuff that I was like, okay, this is kind of annoying. It should be like level appropriate or something like that. I don't know. It's just kind of annoying.
Well, you can eat something that, like, with a gang that makes it to where I think it knocks it down a few levels and you still can or something, but like...
Yeah, there's a lot of meals. Oh, we completely forgot about that. But Slime and I, we talked about it a little bit in a chat.
I liked the meals. My one complaint, they should have had images. I wanted to be hungry. I love in games where they have drawn...
100%.
Like, I want... Like, some of these sounded amazing, and also some of... Oh, bro. Shout out to some of the puns and some of these food. I'm ready to see the fan drawings for Demon Dew. They have an in-game Mountain Dew equivalent for finding demons, and I'm all here for it. The names were great, but I needed images to go along with it.
Now I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to do Demon Dew now.
Really random aside, but I've not finished the compendium, so if anyone here was gonna find it, lucky you would have it. Does this game have accidental fusion? Because I never stumbled across it.
I never did either. I was wondering that too.
No, as far as I know, it doesn't.
Okay, that's what I figured it wouldn't, because like it's definitely a smaller compendium to most. Like it's over 100, but it is one of those things that it's like, yeah, you probably wouldn't need it, especially with like how kind of restrictive it is with being very level specific. I think you would break the game really easily if you could like have a demon like 5 levels over.
I think I'd cry in this one about a demon fusion accident because it seems difficult. I don't know. Is it difficult for you guys to like use stuff in this game? It just felt that way to me, but maybe I'm trying to
that's
hurry
weird.
up.
If you're doing a lot of like when you're in dungeons, how often are you passing up opportunities to fight?
Almost every time. A lot, actually.
Oh,
that's
probably all the demons though.
It's more than that because like the only way, well, not the only way, a large majority of the way you get things for fusing and other opportunities like that, because there are demons that straight up won't let you be recruited by them or be able to find them through recruitment normally unless you have fought them enough times. Like you need to have that experience for the game to like trigger them for you, and it does explain that when you start it off. So it is one of those stranger ones with it, but yeah, it is a thing of like, because, and this kind of goes back to why the game is so linear and straight. It is not expecting you to roam these dungeons for hours. It's like, check every nook and corner, but once you've ran through a level, you'll never really need to go back through it again unless there's a side quest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes more sense then. Yeah.
So I guess the final thing would be, we saw the review scores and things going out. So how do you guys feel about those, and like where would you put the game personally?
Fair enough.
I think the review scores are what I expected, to be honest. 6s and 7s. There was one 3 out of 10. I read the review. I think it's a good review, but they just lowballed the score really hard. Like I think 5 or a 6 would have been more accurate for what they were saying in the review. But then again, it's not my review. Like I can't really like say
exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the like 6 to 7 mark was exactly where it would be, and I think the reviews were pretty true to their words and what they said. Maybe not the 3 to 10 one or whatever, but the rest
I
of them were
like the
pretty
comment. I forget who said it. I think someone under the Nibelian commented like, clearly Soul Hackers 2 murdered this family. Like, murdered this person's family. Like, they're like, the 3 is the best I could do for you. Like, you murdered my dog and my mom and everything was left me after I played this game.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I thought that it made sense. In a sense, I was like, okay, this is kind of where I expected the game to fall in, for a lot of different reasons. This isn't gonna be like the game. I don't think that I'm just being honest here. I never expected the game to be like the game of the year material or anything like that. Like, it's a good game. I enjoyed it.
Yo, that'd be a sad fact. Like, if this is like, no offense, and I'm probably actually gonna rate this higher than everyone else here.
Mm-hmm.
If this is your GOTY, you probably didn't play a lot of games this year. It'd be like that. Like, that's like
shit,
yeah.
But
that's not
that's
being,
just,
like,
that's just because there are so. But that's just because there are so many good games this year. Like, it'd be that thing of like, it's like I love Monarch, but I'm like, no, dude, Monarch's not gonna be my GOTY or whatever like that. So it's that thing of like, there are levels to it. Like, this game is like, for me, I know this game at its best is a 7, but I'm in the 8 range. I'm giving it a B, and that's mostly because
me too.
I liked
Spencer.
it. I liked it enough to that point of I liked the story that was there. I liked the characters that was there. I really liked the music, and it was that thing of there was never a moment for me when I played this, and I was like, oh, I gotta play this game. I was always excited to play this. Like, I turned it down so many other games I wanted to play, not just because I was like, I gotta get this review out. It was because literally, like, this game, when I'm playing it, it hooked me in really good. And only reason I'm docking it those couple of points is because, yeah, like, obviously, there are things I wish it would have done better, and there are, like, other little things here that are, like, kind of nitpicks and whatnot with it. But for the most part, everything that was here from beginning to end for me, I was like, oh, yeah, this was really fun.
Yeah, I think so too. I was always excited to play this, and when I got the game, initially, I was like, I wonder if this is going to be one of those games where I get it, and then I forget what time it is because I'm playing it so long, and it did do that for me. So I can't say that I hate the game or anything, but I think I am around like a 7 or so for this game, at least for now. I haven't got both endings yet or anything or seen that, but at least from how far I've played it. And the gameplay, I think Spencer said this too, it does save it a lot. I really enjoy the gameplay. If you just like that classic Mega 10 just gameplay, fusing demons and fighting and stuff, it's there for sure. Which I think just the gameplay alone would like have been like a 6 for me. The story and everything else is like a 7 when adding it all together. But I think that's kind of where I'm at when it comes to Soul Hackers 2. There's definitely more they could have done, but
Glenn, what about you? I'm extra curious because like we talked about kind of reviewing the trophy list. Like I remember you and me were definitely like, yeah, this is probably one of their best trophy lists they've done in terms of tough but fair. But I'm curious the overall experience. Where did you land?
I'd say for me, I'd have to say like in between a 6 or a 7. Like it's a good game. Like I didn't get to a point where I was like, oh my god, I have to play this game, like you said, or like it's like it kept me engaged enough to where I wasn't bored out of my mind. But like. It's just like.
Ooh, did your score go lower or higher after platinuming it? Like a good example, I loved. Well, I shouldn't say I loved it. It was like, my score went down platinuming Nocturne. Like I actively didn't like Nocturne more after platinuming it. Whereas at least this game, I'm like, I doubt I'm gonna have that feeling.
I was fine. Like this game, like unlike Nocturne, like Nocturne's like, oh yeah, get to level 250, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to buy the DLC for that, am I, Atlas? Like, at least this game has like those risky like demons where I found like a specific area in the train dungeon where it has like a circle and you can just run around, and there's like a food item that makes them spawn more. So if you eat that and run around in that circle, you'll get to like I got from level 60 to 99 in like 2 hours.
The game makes it easy to loot, man. Like you put some music on, you fucking jam out to some Weezer or whatever while playing Soul Hackers 2 in the dungeon. You knock out 2 hours and you'll wonder, is this how I spend my life now?
Yeah, but
yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
I guess for me,
are we ready? Are we ready to talk about the? Oh no, sorry, Kuro.
I haven't done my score yet. Yeah, I give it an 8. I already recorded my review and everything. I thought I was fair with the game. Like there was stuff that I was like, okay, this does not work for me or anything. But I was still like, I still enjoyed the experience, and everything. Like, guys, this is no GOTY or anything like that, but the experience is there, and if you are, open-minded or like at least willing to give it a try, there's some enjoyment to get out of this game. I guess saying that way, it's an enjoyable experience. It's an enjoyable game. There were a few times that I was like, oh man, this game sucks. I
wonder if you guys would agree with this. Do you think this will be the 7 of the year? Like I think unless something really surprises me this fall, I think this will be a really good game to be like, this was the best 7 of the whole year. Of like, this was good enough in this, like, out of all the budget, like low expectation games out there. I think that this one has a high chance of being the most memorable one I play this year.
Not for me. I already have my 7 of the year.
What's your 7? I'm curious. Oh, it better not be Final Fantasy Origin.
Oh no, it's not. That's okay.
That's a GOTY of the year.
Xenoblade. I know it's Xenoblade. I feel it in my soul.
You think it's Xenoblade? No, I like Xenoblade.
No, we're talking 7s of the year. What's your 7 of the year?
Oh, my 7 of the year. Jesus, I forgot the name of the game right now. Hold on.
Slime, I bet you played some trash 7s this year. What's your 7 of the year?
No. It's Jesus, what the fuck is that game? It's like I have it at the tip of my tongue. I just played so many games this year.
Digimon Survive?
No, Digimon Survive is good.
Elden Ring.
No, it's not.
It's not Elden Ring. I know he likes
that's my go-to.
That's a controversial.
It's Jesus
Monarch?
Christ. I'm looking at my no, Monarch is Monarch is a 7 too, but no.
Monarch's in the mid 7s. Monarch's a definite mid 7.
Sifu.
Wow,
gotcha.
that's actually low compared to most people I know who's played Seafood. That's a weird 7.
Ghost Warrior? Oh, not like that's like a 6.
I don't think. Kuro is the lowest person I know who's played Ghost Warrior.
I was like,
that's what I know too.
Ghost Warrior.
Don't even get me started on Ghost Warrior. That game bored me out of my mind.
I could make a whole list of mid games of the year.
Did you platinum Ghostwire?
Yeah, Platinum Ghost Warrior. Those collectibles, oh my god.
I was gonna say, I've heard the collectibles are incredibly long to do.
That's so bad. It's so many. They're everywhere.
Because what is it, like over 120,000 souls, right?
Yeah, it's so many. It's like 130,000 or something. It's everywhere. You gotta go like every corner of the map. I will admit, Ghostwire got Tokyo real good. Honestly, probably one of the games that one of the best games that I've played that's captured Tokyo really good. But those collectibles,
that's one of those ones that's like, that's a great game, but you can't judge the score on the platinum. That's just it's like Far Cry. Like, there's a difference between saying I played Far Cry 6 and I platinum Far Cry 6. When I don't know if anyone here has even touched Far Cry 6 before me. When I looked at the opening map for Far Cry 6, and then I zoomed out and realized I was only on the tutorial island, I was like, man, this game's pretty big. And then I zoomed out all the way, and you notice you're on 1/100th of the map, and you're like, Jesus Christ, this is the biggest game I've ever seen in my fucking life. And that's how I found out I was the only one here who plays Ubisoft games.
Yeah.
I play Rainbow Six. I got Uno.
How big are those maps on Rainbow Six? Let me tell you.
Not big. I mean, Elden Ring was huge. That blew me away how big that game was. Because I kept playing it, and then it's like, oh yeah, you know how there's like all these islands on top? It's like there's an entire underground area that's like just as big as one of them. I'm just like, that game just really blew me away. My friend, like,
one day I'll beat it. I'm that sicko who picked Monarch over Elden Ring. I'm like, no, bro, I gotta play Monarch first.
I actually,
I played it first just for my channel. I want to.
I still haven't even played Elden Ring. I've still got that game in the wrapper.
Yeah, me and Slimer in this still haven't beat Elden Ring Camp. I feel better now.
What?
All right, so before we spoil Elden Ring, let's spoil some Soul Hackers.
All right. Who wants to start?
I can't. I literally don't know the ending.
Ooh, can we at least do this? Actually, Rising, where did you last leave off in the story? That way, because I feel like we can spoil this game without super ripping it open for you.
Iron Mask just took up his mask. And it's just the one guy's dad, right?
Okay, then you're gonna have one other thing spoiled for you, but you're not like that much farther away from it happening. So we can basically talk about everything
Am I at the end?
Because
I'm at the end.
you're one dungeon away from the end, but it's a long
Okay.
dungeon.
You got a
I
little
didn't
bit
think I
left.
was too far. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care. You guys can talk about it. Like, I like this game, but I don't think I care about the story that much. But
See, it's funny. You're at the crescendo where I really went, oh, thank God, the story had a good kind of twist I didn't see coming and I don't hate. So like,
no, I do like where it's at right now. I currently do like it actually.
So like, I'll just kind of go out real quick because I was going to throw it to Gab, but Gab has a quick BRB. So one thing I really like, so spoilers because we definitely kind of danced around it earlier. I really liked the twist that Black Mask. Now we're getting into metal. No, that's Death Stranding, I think. That Iron Mask. We never knew Paul. We never knew Melody's boyfriend. We thought, okay, this Iron Mask we've seen the whole game is this guy, which like kind of led into the thing of like how mixed Melody's like feelings were and everything. And we eventually find out, which I think was a super cool reveal of holy shit, Iron Mask is Raven. And we'd known Raven for quite a while, but Raven definitely kind of seemed more like a side character, not as little as like a Kuzunoha, but like he definitely kind of just seemed like another one of those characters, like an Ash or whatever for it. But I liked that twist of it. Didn't feel like, oh my god, this is stupid. Like for me, I liked the motivation. I especially like thank God, Fig soul hacks Raven at that point, and we get that backstory because I'm like, if we don't get his backstory and like see how Paul died, I would have been like that's BS. Like this is some BS storytelling. But like they thankfully explain it. Like the big one for me was I need to know why he would want to be Iron Mask. I need to know when he was Iron Mask because like I was worried it was going to be one of those things like, oh, it happened off screen in the middle of the game. Like I liked that it happened way before you start playing. Or not way before, but at least before you start playing the game in the story. Like, that is when he already has the mask and everything with it. So the game explains that in a good one. And then the other one kind of leading into who's going to kind of succeed after he dies and passes on. I was so worried that Fig was like, I love you, Raven. I'll take on your will. Like, it was no. She wasn't doing that because, like, oh, I love him, this is why. Like, she genuinely, like, kind of saw his side of things, especially through soul hacking him and spending time with him previously, to being like, no, you're right. Like, this is just a never-ending cycle of violence and BS, and this is going to be how I can end it with my power and Aeon and the Covenants and stuff. So, like, I liked how they kind of progressed that. Like, there was never a moment of, like, you're crazy, you're evil. Like, I like how in the final battle, there's that segment where they talk about it. They're like, hey, you're not going to change my mind, but we're going to talk about it. Like, they covered their bases. Where, like, there was never that moment where there's a twist, and you're like, oh, that's stupid. Oh, I hated that. Like, but, like, that's just me. But, like, at least I was glad the kind of big twist at the end didn't seem super out of left field in a way that seemed cheap. And at least ended on a note where I was like, hey, this is interesting. Like, there's no real good or bad guys in this, which is kind of how you want the story to be. But I've rambled and ranted for it. Did you guys agree? Did you hate it? Did you think it was a stupid reveal? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it was a stupid reveal.
Oh, no.
Sorry. I was like, yeah, no, no, it was fine. I think there's two parts to it. I thought the first part was good. Raven being like the bad guy, I thought it was really well done. They kind of like, they build up to it. They make you kind of care for the guy. You know he cares. You know he's all about the children, and they kind of explain why and everything. You're like, okay, I can go behind that. But to me, where they lost me is when they do the whole thing with Fig, which is like, okay, well, you know, I see this, and I think to me, like, I understand that she's a very innocent child, basically. She's a childlike person, doesn't know anything about the world, like we talked about earlier. She's basically been alive for 5 minutes. So, I understand the motivations around it and everything. At the same time, I also felt like they didn't have enough build up to it. Like, I felt like there was something there, but they really didn't build up enough to it to me to be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. To the extent I was like, okay, I have to give them the benefit of the doubt about it, but in my mind I was like, it's still not very, like, I'm still not buying it. Like I get it, but I'm not buying it. So that's where I feel about it. I think it's fine. I don't think it's a big deal. It didn't like break the story for me or anything. And even doing the normal ending just kind of feels a little like, oh, okay, so that happened and everything, because you do have an option. I guess we can spoil it here, then spoilers, right? But there is an option of like killing her or saving her. You only get that option if you do the extra stuff in the dungeon and everything. I didn't, so in my ending she died, and I was fine with that. I was like, alright, she died.
She deserved it.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, she played with fire, she died. Fair enough. I don't know, people probably like, yo, this guy. But that's how I felt about it. I thought it was fine. I just didn't think it was like, it earned it. I thought it was missing something. Maybe like an hour or two, or more exposition, more build up to that moment, maybe giving them more scenes. Of like why she cares so much about it. I'm not a heartless person, but I didn't think that the build-up was like justified enough.
What about you? Where were you landing on the ending?
Who? Me?
Oh no, I said Slime. What about you?
I didn't
compared to
that on this moment. I think the ending. To be real, like I didn't get the choice at first because I'm real. I didn't know how you need 100 soul level on all of them to get like the choice, but like I didn't know how to like unlock that at first, so I ended up just getting the bad ending at first. And I'm gonna be real, I thought like that ending was fine as well at first, because I was like, oh yeah, this is the normal ending, I guess it's whatever. And then I ended up doing another playthrough. I got the choice, I did the true ending, and I'm real, that ending goes on for a little while. There's like a very long cutscene in that ending. Both of them are fine.
I'll say this because I guess I'm the only one who did this first, although I'm not sure if Gab got first. Getting the true ending and then going back, I find it funny. Like, I find the normal ending comedically short. The normal ending is basically like, hey, Ringo, you depressed? All right, well, we gotta leave now. We're never gonna see you again. Be like, bye. Whereas, like, then the other one is very drawn out. Like, here's where this one did. Here's this. Like, it was so funny. Like, when I went back and did it second, I was like, shoot.
Like, the first time, I was like the complete opposite. I did like the true ending second, and I was like, damn, this is going on for a while. This is like 30-minute cutscene here. Like, it's gonna
your lore jump. You were looking for lore. I got you a little more lore.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I'm still fine with the other ending. I thought it was just okay. Like, I didn't think it was bad or anything like that. But it wasn't great or anything either. It was just alright.
Yeah. What did you think at least? Like, so we're kind of like talking about like what did you think of the ending in general, but also the reveal of Arrow, Fig, and like the kind of Trenton of Iron Mask.
Okay, I'll say that there are different reveals that I feel different about. So the Arrow thing, you can see it a mile away. Literally, that was something that it was set up, and I was like, that was the catchy of this game, right? Like kind of like the reveal.
Really, that you thought. You thought like
yeah, since the beginning.
Like you knew he had a covenant in you the whole time. You're like, I nailed it. He's got one.
Since the beginning, I knew he was gonna be relevant. He's the first character they mentioned a bunch of times that he's gonna be important, and I was like, this dude is gonna be. Yeah,
I did not get that at all.
Neither did I. Like when it came up, I was like,
big
oh,
brain
like
curl over here.
Yeah, like that one right there did not surprise me whatsoever. I was like, all right, saw it, but good. The whole thing connection. I did think though that he was gonna be more connected to the Kusunohas. That didn't happen. That didn't disappoint me either. That was like, okay, good. I'm glad they didn't do it in that direction, because that would have been more disappointing. But yeah, that was my other prediction, that he was gonna be a Kusunoha. I was like, if that happens, that'll make more sense. But I also don't want it to happen, and I'm glad it didn't happen, because it would have kind of left me kind of like I don't know if he fits the Kusunoha name or anything, which. Good, it didn't, but yeah. What else? What was the other twist? Oh, with Milady, right? Whenever she's like, oh yeah, I knew about it or whatever. I was like, yeah, it makes sense that she knew that she knew.
Ooh, weird lore question, because I got vibes for this. I'm curious what you all thought. Did anyone think the way that Milady talks about Raven and Paul is that Paul definitely probably had a thing for Raven? I don't know if it was mutual, but I feel like the way the dialogue was like, I got definite like bisexual vibes from Paul talking about Raven.
Yeah, it did sound like they had like some emotional beyond just being like enemies, right? It did have that feel to it. Yeah, you're right.
Gab, you're being too quiet. Are you going to break the silence and tell us all your headcanon about how Ringo is the new bisexual icon of 2022?
No.
Darn it. But what about you? Where are you at, like, kind of spoiler wise of like, did it hit? Did it miss? Did you like? Did you hate?
I kind of just thought it was okay. Like Kuro, I kind of saw the whole thing with Arrow coming. Maybe because, like, I don't know. I'm like that. I like to try and guess what's gonna happen in games. So, of course, I'm gonna attempt to guess what's gonna happen. And so I predicted it. I didn't know how they were gonna go about it. Like, I didn't know specifically it was gonna be that, like, he got it through what's his face cutting his arm off or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I did kind of. I was like, oh, that makes sense that he would have that. And as for, like, the end, I never actually got the true ending. I only had the regular one, and I thought it was just, like I said, just okay. It wasn't, like, super memorable or anything, and I felt like that's just how I feel about the game in general, is that it was just okay.
I would say, much like Slime, if you have 30 minutes to kill, and you would like to learn a little bit more about Fig, and I would actually say there are actually the true ending. I almost appreciated more for the fact of it actually added more context to Ion, Fig, as well as Ringo, and like their place with everything. Like, I think the normal ending has a really interesting thing where it leaves Ringo off as a character without it just being a big old bummer. Do like that the true ending, it doesn't just be like, oh, it's good because it's everyone lives. Like, there were different kind of reasons to it that I appreciated with it in terms of the endings. I guess at least since we're kind of talking about late game stuff, what did you all think of the level 4 cutscene in the Soul Matrix for everyone? So the kind of glimpse into the future with Arrow, Melody, and Saizo.
I can answer that because I didn't get that deep in the Matrix.
I thought, honestly, I thought they were fine, to be honest. I'm gonna be real. They were like, oh yeah, there's gonna be no more Soul Matrix. I honestly thought there was gonna be another one, but they were just saying there's gonna be no more. I don't know why, but yeah, I thought they were fine. They were alright, I guess.
You mean just like there's an ending cutscene for finishing?
So when you,
it's like basically the ending of their Soul Matrix like arc. Like, it has all these like backstory things, and it's basically
there's more levels to the Soul Matrix than 4, but like basically you need to get to the ending of 4, which means you have over 100 soul points, and then that just kind of gives everyone that just basically gives everyone kind of like an idea, because the whole point of it is this is a look into the future of what could be. It's not like, hey, here's what's canon. It means due to everything we've been through with this character, here's a future you're most likely going to have. So with Arrow, he will most likely kind of take over Raven's role in Yanagarasu. And with Melody, she's going to now be the leader of the Phantom Society, or at the very least, she will be the next Iron Mask. And with Saizo literally just being like, hey, not only does he end up getting Ash back in the end, but they have a family. Like, he is a dad now. Like, so it was nice. It was cool closure like that of being like, hey, like, and again, like, I think a big one that's brought up about the characters a lot is, hey, it's cool, Ringo talks. My big one that I think that really drew me into the cast a lot more is they don't have kid problems. These aren't high school problems. They are like, hey, I mean, we haven't even gotten into the other cast stories. Like, we don't really like have to, but it is a thing of like, I love the side characters of like, none of them feel like they're BS side characters of like, I like the baggage that they all have with their, if not love interests, they're like people that they grew up with and are very like that fight. I love that cutscene before the boss fight of Raven's friend. Like, when you guys are fighting and you're having a thing of being like, this is stupid, why do we have to fight? But them explaining it and being like, listen, this is just like the courses we like took in our lives. Like, we are respecting each other by fighting to the death like this, as opposed to just doing this, even though we know it's not the sensible thing. We know it is stupid, but like, this is the path we chose in our life, and this is like the future we believe. Like, just do the let's talk it out Steven Universe ending for them would be an insult to their beliefs in what the future they think should happen. So I liked moments like that, and I liked how complicated Ash and Saizo's thing was. Of Saizo always knew Ash was guilty, but never holding it against her. Not because he's like some man baby who was like, oh, I love her, but of just being like, well, yes, because he loves her, but it's like, listen, our life is complicated. Like, I really liked the conversations of like the summoner's karma, of like, we can't live this life consequence free. It's always going to bite us in the butt somehow, but we have to find a way to live with it. And his way to live with it is just to grin and laugh through the pain when those moments happen, because he knows he's happier with Ash in his life. Whereas for Ash, that's a lot more of a complicated thing to come back and do. Whereas I really like then when like those side quests with Ash are done. Oh, am I roboting for a little bit?
Your mic is really messed up. Like,
really?
I don't know what I'm hearing.
Sounds like you're rubbing styrofoam on it.
Or like you're just like flicking it or something. I don't know. It just sounds weird.
Oh, here, let me. I actually have an audio track pulled up. I can take a look at it. So it's still sounding weird.
It's fine now.
Right now?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I got listening back for it. Yeah, that's weird. Maybe it was just my internet being funky. Where did I mean, I went on a big rant about the characters either way, but you get the point. I really liked that nobody kind of felt like there's no thought into this. He's just the girlfriend. He's just the childhood friend. He's just the boyfriend. Like, I liked that those things had consequences because the cast was so small. I liked that it felt like to me kind of a payoff, even if it wasn't that big, or even if we would have liked it in bigger like sentiments for it, like. It was those moments of every character kind of had someone to bounce off for it, which is funny because you almost think that Arrow has two, but really Raven is there for Fig, even if it's not like to your like liking or whatever, like Kuro and stuff for it. I at least appreciated it in that sense of just being like, I liked how there was a complementary character, unless I guess you're talking about Zenon. Zenon just exists to eat, coveted to just be a weird moon demon thing who never takes his mask off for some fucking reason to eat covenants.
He was kind of a disappointment character for me. I thought he was gonna have an interesting thing.
I think as soon as we found out he's just a meta demon, we kind of were told, hey, he's not a person. He has no backstory.
I expected they would like turn it into something. By the way, I sent something for you there. You were asking about it.
You gotta put that on the thumbnail. Mara. We can't put Mara on it.
I like that the Demon Dew exclusively features DLC. That makes it even better. It's DLC Demon Dew.
It's like, it's tongue in cheek,
It's fucking Mara juice, bro.
You have to.
Also, I'll say this. I don't know if this is a weird one. I'll say and these are two kind of more recent comparisons, and I'm specifically not saying Royal for a reason, but I think overall, both endings, I got much more immediate satisfaction over what it showed and told me than original Persona 5 and SMT 5. Just in that sense of like, I liked that at least what it showed us, it felt, hey, that's the end. It's not, hey, here's what the end might be, or here's the ending you have. Like, it felt like it was that thing of, you're not just fighting God again. You're not just fighting whatever. You're not just having this weird... Like, obviously, it's a big... Oh, by the way, because this is a spoiler, I at least thought that final boss fight was extremely cool-looking, very interesting, and had one of the best tracks in the game. I thought that entire final boss showdown was very, very cool. I'm excited for you to get to it, Rising, but like I thought visually the game had a lot going on. Good for it there.
I agree. That fight was amazing. That boss theme, both phases of that boss theme was so good.
Oh, really tiny little thing, but kind of going back to the fucking little details they put into this game, even though they had a tiny-ass budget. Like, when you are fighting characters and the characters have thoughts or are emotionally tied to them, they will say it when choosing battle commands. I really fucking loved that. Like, I loved when you're fighting Iron Mask for the first time, and Iron Mask will yell at you because Iron Mask is supposed to have a thought. Like, Iron Mask is obviously very tied to melody and things like that. And like little ones are like at the final fight when you're fighting. Sorry, I'm just imagining cats.
Yeah,
Gab's cat knocking over an entire plane on the laptop. I'm imagining gravel everywhere. But like little moments, like when you're on the final fight, everyone there, like the tone is interesting. I don't know if you guys would agree, but like the tone I really liked on the final fight was not sad that we're doing this, but at least we all know why we're all here. There wasn't that moment of like, I don't want to do, like, there's not that stereotypical, I don't want to kill you. There's no like, Kaneda.
They're just people doing what
there's no
what they
their personal thing.
They do, they're you know where everyone's beliefs lie, and like everyone seems justified, at least in their own kind of reasonings, which I always enjoy, because nothing is more frustrating.
It's like a Marvel thing, right? You know, like Thanos isn't bad. He's just doing what helps the universe. You know, there's no
moment. Yeah, there's no moment where you're just like, why is Killmonger doing this?
Why is he really bad? He's just bad. It's like, no, they have actual reasons.
Yeah. So like, at least for me, going into that thing of I at least like. Again, I liked the story, so I'm going to be a sucker for it either way. But I just thought it all felt very cohesive. It all felt kind of its own thing. There weren't those moments of just being like, hey, the final form is still God, or it's some weird demon. Like, honestly, what I thought like had to be the final boss in this game, kind of talking about failing to make predictions, I was ready for Flamma to be a boss, or you to fight Aeon, or
Same.
even like, and even the fact that like, and you're going to find this. And you're going to find this soon in the final dungeon rising, but like even Yatagarasu and the Phantom Society, they don't make you fight the top boss. You're just fighting specially picked people, and they make sense in the story. And I thought like, oh, that's really interesting. Of like, who would Yatagarasu send, and who would the Phantom Society send? Like, those were both very different choices there, because it would have been so easy, like Kuro and Gab, like in Slime, like for them just to be like, I'm the boss of Yatagarasu, you've got to fight me or whatever. Like that would have been so like kind of boring for the choices to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice if I think that's just what a good story is, right? Is giving a reason. If you're just doing things for like no reason, just because you're the good guys, that's just your team. But actually having a reason to do something, it's a lot better. I think like some of the other stuff, like I don't want to always compare it to like Persona, but sometimes Persona is just like, we're here, we're friends, and you said something to us or did something to us, so we're gonna beat you up. But it's like, this is like a grand like reason for why they're doing things, like trying to save the world or painting things in their own vision and whatnot. So yeah, I like that. Again, I haven't.
I'll say one thing, because I've been quiet for a minute. I like that there was no neutral law chaos, because I was trying to fit them into those archetypes for a while.
I wondered if that was in the game.
Yeah, and I was literally like, I was playing, I was like, okay, well, Saizo is definitely the neutral route, and I was like, in my mind, I was already like thinking of like Megaten, like, so like which one's gonna be chaos, which one's gonna be law. But like the more you get to know these characters, you're like, okay, this is not really about chaos law. They all have like their own different decisions or like reasoning why they want to do a certain thing, which lays kind of oddly enough more into what SMT3 is, like more about literally reasons, and they have like their own, you know, a sense of like what they're doing is correct or something like that, which I appreciate. It's pretty nice. Yeah, at least they didn't make me pick at the end like, oh, who do you want to join with, because like I'm annoyed of that. As much as I like the chaos law stuff, sometimes I'm like, I hate being asked who I want to join later, like.
Yeah.
I just realized something, I think. When you hover over the game on the PS5 or like the PS4, it just hit me out. Iron Mask is like technically there twice, right? Him with the mask on and not, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That just hit me now. I'm like looking at that. I'm like, wait, and he's parallel to where he is on each side.
Well, it's interesting, yeah. When you beat the game, comparing the placement of each character on the cover actually makes a lot more sense now. Which is especially Fig's placement.
Yeah, and Ringo's got the 3 that she revives, right? And so as in the party. That is like really adding up. Yeah, and Fig's on the outside with Iron Mask there. That just blew my mind right now seeing that for the first time.
What are you talking about?
And understanding it.
The cover for the game. If you look at all the characters' placements, it's actually kind of more tied to the story and like what ends up happening than you'd realize.
Yeah, and like especially because like Ringo has her sort of what's it called? I can't remember. She's like has them wrapped around like her finger there.
It's her soul hack.
Yeah, she has them wrapped up. That's interesting. I never noticed that though. That's a good attention to detail.
Brother. There you go.
Yeah.
Good symbolism. They did a good job with that.
Yeah, I never noticed that till now.
Any last final thoughts? Any last final discussions on the spoiler side of things or anything? Any last thoughts?
The game was alright.
Just curious how people take it. I really am. I think Gabbmew
it will be very controversial. If people think the reviews were kind of all over the place, I'm genuinely sure that like there will be many people who are like, you're in the, because it's going to be weird. It's going to be a lot of people who, and I think this is going to be definitely one, and it's always weird with video games, of do you hate it because you think you're going to hate it, or did you genuinely not like it? Because it is one of those things that it is easy. Similarly, this will definitely have a similarity with Tokyo Mirage Sessions of people judging it without ever playing it.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think it's going to be one of the most divisive games in the series, but I mean, I've said that to everyone like multiple times.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that are going to hate it or love it for different reasons. I don't think there's anything bad with the game itself. I think that they do what they try to do pretty well. But I can see why some people will be disappointed or maybe not what they expected. Because there's a lot of expectations. I've seen people's comments and I'm like, I don't know about that. Like some of the things that people say on all sides of this, like people that are like either very excited for it or very upset about it. I'm like, I think you have the wrong idea, but there are some people that are already going into the game with a particular idea in mind. And don't go like that. I definitely try to go into this game, although I've seen a lot of the well, you know, like I've seen a lot of the game, right? Like from like trailers and everything. I try to go as little as possible of like what my expectations will be and everything. So that's how I try to approach it. Like I try to.
You should take it as its own thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people are comparing it to Persona because it has the soul levels. They thought there was going to be a whole dialogue bit and like character link thing. It's not quite like that, so don't compare it like too close to that. A lot of people thought it was going to be like the first Soul Hackers. Not quite that. I think thinking of it as its own thing, and then if you make comparisons in there, then you do. But definitely take it for its own. I think that's the last thing I'll say. I'm genuinely curious how people think about this. I think you guys are right. It will be decisive. It will be very mixed, but I'm interested to see how people take it.
I've got a weird last question. I think this would be a good one to kind of wrap up on. If you want to all go in order, after obviously all the time we've put with this, is this going to be a game you recommend at launch, or how would you recommend it, if at all?
Oh, I'll go for this one. I would recommend buying it at a discount, personally. I don't think it's worth the full price.
Yeah, I can see that. I'll say if you should probably buy this game around like the $40 price will be a good price for this game. I don't feel like I'm being mean. I think that will make sense if they did it that way. Like if somebody,
it'll be a solid Black Friday pickup.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. So full price, unless you're a big fan and you're like, I wanna get the experience or whatever, go for it. But personally, I think you can wait for this game. I don't think you're gonna miss out if you get it later. Only if you really care about like DLC and shit like that for pre-orders.
Yeah,
like that'll be the only caveat I will say.
If you really love just Megaton gameplay with a little bit of a different twist on it, and that's literally all you want, then sure, maybe I'd say get it. If you're wanting a full package though, then yeah, I'd wait till 40 or a Black Friday sale or something like that. Atlas games typically go on decent sales quite often, so I wouldn't be surprised if this gets a sale, not far after release, a couple months or whatever, maybe even shorter, who knows. But yeah, I think I have a similar stance like the rest of you do with it, for sure.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with the game or anything. I just feel like
I'm dying to know Slime. Slime's paying the most for us. Slime, where do you recommend it? Do you give it the Australian recommendation? Where are you at with there?
Oh man, I've already pre-ordered that Atlas Shop Collector's Edition, but like personally, if you want like the most value and money, like you want the most for your money out of the game, I would wait for like a Black Friday sale or a sale in general, because like I'm the type of guy to just buy everything. I'm the type of guy to just buy everything at full price no matter what.
I've seen your Play Asia shipments. I believe you. I'm surprised. I'm the only one who would recommend it at launch. I'll at least say I definitely have a caveat. If you are someone who genuinely enjoys Atlas games, yes, you're gonna like this. I'd be surprised if you don't like this for most people. There's usual, but I will say there are two people who I would definitely recommend this to, who most people I've not seen bring this up. If you are someone who is like, I love Tokyo Mirage Sessions, this is the sequel. They just couldn't call it TMS 2. They had to make it Soul Hackers 2. It is basically the guts of TMS in a different wrapper. But the other one, I would say, if you are someone, and obviously you wouldn't have made it to the end of this, but you could recommend to friends, this is the perfect introduction to Atlas games. If Persona seems too mainstream or weird or like whatever, and like not their cup of tea, they don't want to play another high school-like game, or if SMT seems maybe a little bit too hard or esoteric, this is a perfect game to jump in. It's not too hard. It's not too easy. It's streamlined. There's a lot of features that are just kind of taken out or doing their own thing. I think for people to get friends or other people who play games into Atlas games, I think this is a perfect starting game. Mike again. Man, it's got to be an internet thing. I have myself recorded, which is very funny. It's the Demon Do. It's what it is.
There you go. Final form, guys. Final form. I had a big door in it.
I will say, did anyone regret buying the $200 collector's edition after playing this game? Because I know at least of one person who did. Who was literally like, I really regret buying this now.
No. I mean, I
didn't buy that.
I bought it. I'm excited. I bought 2 copies of it. I bought the Japanese one and I got the English one. I think like Slime. We did the same thing, right, Slime?
You got both. Yeah, got both. Yeah.
Yeah, we got both. We got both. I got that one. If anything, I just wish I had a PC version of the game. That's the only thing. I bought an Xbox version, even though I don't own an Xbox. And
what?
Yeah, I just want to have it for collection purposes.
It's like the first Atlas game on Xbox in almost a decade.
Yeah. We have
some
to celebrate.
Poor soul out there would love to play that.
I have to support it.
Honestly, shout out. I know we really got to get the hell out of here. I see every day, whether it be on like Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, there are so many people who are happy and ecstatic that this is on Xbox, and I'm so glad to see that support, because like you need that, like you really need that on this, because like this is a big one for them. It's not on Game Pass. I mean, I'm sure it will be eventually, but you can say that with like every game. Like I'm glad I'm seeing people sending me screenshots of their pre-orders, being like, hell yeah, it's on Xbox. I can't wait. I hope for more. Like that's a great sign to see.
It's a good multi-release and international release, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is something they should always do, to be honest.
Oh, can't wait to see the first like sale numbers. I'm very interested. We're in a world where Digimon Survive did like top 8 in the West, so like anything's possible.
Yeah, but I think that's gonna wrap things up, guys. Thank you so much for coming out to the SMT and Friends podcast. This is of course Soul Hackers SpoilerCast, but let us know, guys. What do you think down below? Like, comment, subscribe for more content. Check down the links in the description for all of our channels. Let us know what you guys think. I'm very, very curious about that. But till next time, guys, see y'all later.
Bye.
Yes.